guys, welcome back to another Saturday Sweets episode. In this particular episode, we are going to be making a recipe out of this Southern Living magazine. I believe it's the September 2020 issue, and we're going to be making an apple butter cinnamon roll recipe. For those of you that are new here, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a full-time working mom. I typically work outside of the home, but right now I'm working inside of the home. I am a mom to a 7-month-old son, and my husband and I live here in a suburb of Chicago. In these videos, at Saturday Sweets, I typically try to make some fun new baking recipe. I try to do them on the weekends when I have a little bit more time and can hang out with my husband and kid in the kitchen. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show you the recipe and the ingredients you're going to need to get started on this one. Hey guys, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the magazine that I'm cooking this recipe out of, as well as the ingredients that you're going to need. So the magazine is this Southern Living food issue. From September of 2020, and the actual recipe, here it is. It's the apple butter cinnamon rolls, and here is the actual recipe if you guys want to take a look. Okay, and the ingredients that you're going to need for this, you are going to need 3 different kinds of sugar. This is how you know a recipe is good, right? You have 3 different kinds of sugar. So you're going to need granulated sugar, confectioner's sugar, and brown sugar. You need 2 different kinds of flour. You need bread flour and all-purpose flour, as well as some packets of active dry yeast. You will also need eggs. You will need apple cider, butter, lemon, some vanilla, some whole milk, and then you will need nutmeg, cinnamon, and salt as your spices, and then you will need apple butter. Now, the actual recipe calls for slow cooker apple butter. I didn't have time to do that today, so I just went ahead and grabbed some jars of apple butter. I've never tried this particular kind, so hopefully it's good. So let's go ahead and start turning all of this into some apple butter cinnamon rolls. I'm actually really stoked about this one, guys. I hope it turns out well. To get started on this one, you are going to put 1 cup of milk into a saucepan and heat it until 95 or 100 degrees. You're then going to pour the warm milk into the bowl of a stand mixer. You're going to sprinkle in a packet of active dry yeast, as well as 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar. You're then going to let that stand for 5 minutes until it gets nice and foamy. After that, you want to stir in your melted butter, your lemon juice, your eggs, your nutmeg, as well as a half a teaspoon of salt and the remaining 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. You then want to beat that on low speed until everything is just combined. While this continues to beat on a low speed, you're going to add your 4.5 cups of bread flour to this. You want to add it slowly until it's well combined. You're then going to increase the speed to medium and beat the dough until soft dough begins to form, which would take about 3 minutes. You then again have to increase the speed to medium-high and beat the dough until it's soft and supple and begins to pull away from the bowl. That'll take about 7 to 9 minutes total. After you reach that stage, you want to scrape the dough onto a lightly floured work surface and knead it with your hands for just 3 or 4 times. You're then going to shape the dough into a ball and transfer it to a lightly greased bowl. You're then going to cover that with plastic wrap and let it rise in a warm area, free from drafts, until it's about doubled for 1 to 2 hours. While the dough was rising, I began to prepare what will be the topping for the actual cinnamon rolls, what's going to go on the inside. That consisted of a half a cup of packed light brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, as well as a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. This will eventually go on top of the apple butter that you're going to spread on the cinnamon roll dough once it is all spread out. Next up, we want to get started rolling out this dough. You're going to begin by flouring your work surface. You then want to take your dough and punch it down, which clearly I did not do here. And then you're going to start rolling it out. You eventually want to end up with an 18 by 14 inch rectangle. Did I end up with an 18 by 14 inch rectangle? Probably not. Did this work just fine? Yes. Go ahead and roll this out to something resembling a rectangle shape and you guys are going to be just fine. Once you get this rolled into something resembling a rectangle, you're going to want to spread 1 cup of apple butter onto this. You want to leave about 1 inch border on the edges just so it doesn't spill out when you roll it. You're then going to go ahead and sprinkle that cinnamon sugar flour mixture over the top, just so it's evenly coated over that apple butter. You're then going to want to start rolling this up. You want to roll it up from the long end, sort of in a jelly roll style. Do your best to try to maintain the length as you're rolling. You're then going to want to cut these into 12 slices. They should be about 1.5 inches thick if you've done your initial rolling correctly, which again, who knows if I even did. You're then going to want to place these into a buttered dish. I used a 13 by 9 inch baking pan, but you certainly could use a cast iron skillet for this. You'll then want to let these do one last rise for about 2 hours. You can then store them in the refrigerator overnight. The next day when we got up, it was officially cinnamon roll day, and I frankly could not have been more excited. The first thing I did was preheat my oven to 350 degrees. I then went ahead and got the glaze ready. I started by putting powdered sugar into a mixing bowl with the whisk attachment. I then added the apple cider to this mixture, as well as vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of milk, and then 1/8 a teaspoon of kosher salt. You want to add an additional tablespoon of milk. Excuse me, I can't talk. You want to add an additional tablespoon of milk until you get to your desired consistency, but make sure you add it 1 teaspoon at a time so that you don't make it too runny and then have to add more powdered sugar and then it becomes a whole saga. So just try to get this to the desired consistency like a typical glaze. You then want to bake off your cinnamon rolls for 25 to 30 minutes or until they're golden brown. Make sure the center part of the dough is completely cooked in the middle. You can always add tinfoil to the top of these to make sure that the tops don't get overly browned before your center part is cooked. Once they're out of the oven, go ahead and brush the glaze over the warm cinnamon rolls and serve them while they're still warm. You guys, this recipe was so stinking delicious. I just absolutely adored them. I thought the apple butter flavor combined with this apple cider glaze was just so lovely and so fall-like. I definitely think this was a winner recipe and would encourage you guys to make them.